Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something that could really change how you move through the world. It's a concept called the let them theory from the book. Think of it as maybe an express route.
Yeah, to feeling lighter maybe, shaking off that weight.
Exactly. The weight of opinions, all the drama, that sting of judgment.
It gets heavy.
So our mission today, it's pretty straightforward, but honestly powerful.
Right. We want to explore this theory, and importantly, how it links up with the let me part.
Yes. To put you back in control of your own life. Let you focus on what really matters to you.
And what's so powerful here, I think, is the main idea. We spend just a huge amount of energy, right?
Totally. Mental, emotional energy.
Trying to manage or, control things that are just fundamentally outside our reach.
Other people, basically.
Exactly, other people. So this deep dive is about, clarifying that line. What you can influence and what you just can't.
Absolutely. And the way the author got there feels very, very real, down to earth.
It started with the 5-second rule, didn't it?
Yeah, that tool for, kicking procrastination. But then she realized procrastination wasn't the only big battle we all face.
Right. We all waste so much precious time, so much energy, wrestling with stuff we can't actually control.
And she's honest about feeling like she was the only one struggling with that at first.
Which is so common, isn't it? That feeling of being alone in the struggle. I bet a lot of listeners can relate.
I think so too.
And it just shows, sometimes our biggest breakthroughs come from seeing these shared human things.
Yeah.
So developing the let them theory, it wasn't some sudden lightning bolt.
No.
It was more gradual. Figuring out how to stop that energy leak.
So our goal today is really to give you, the listener, a practical handle on these ideas.
Yeah, so you can start feeling more in control, maybe less overwhelmed by all those outside pressures.
Okay, let's get into the details.
Yeah.
And it starts somewhere kind of small, actually. A high school prom.
Right. The author talks about the stress around her son Oakley's prom.
The corsage, the dinner plans, even worrying about the weather.
It's such a relatable parent thing, isn't it? That urge to make everything perfect, to conduct the whole show.
Definitely.
But the key moment here was that realization. Her desire for this perfect night clashed with Oakley's own ideas.
And reality. That sudden downpour she mentions. Classic.
Exactly. And that's where the seed of let them started, realizing how pointless it is to try and dictate someone else's preferences or the weather.
Right. So instead of pushing harder, trying to control everything.
There was this shift, this decision to just let it be, let things unfold.
Oakley didn't want the corsage.
Yeah.
Fine. Dinner plans changed.
Okay. And the focus changed, too. It shifted to what she could control.
Her own reaction. Offering support, but not, micromanaging.
And right there, we start seeing the other really crucial part emerge.
The let me part.
Yeah. Starting to take shape. It's key, isn't it? Let them is about the external stuff.
And let me is that vital internal shift. Taking ownership.
Of your responses, your actions, your own peace of mind, really.
Okay, so this idea of power dynamics, the book uses a really clear image for this. A seesaw.
Ah, yes, the seesaw analogy. It's very effective.
Could you walk us through how that illustrates what happens, when we get tangled up in other people's stuff?
Sure. So picture yourself on one end of a seesaw.
Okay.
Now, someone does something, maybe they don't invite you somewhere or they criticize you.
Right. And your immediate thought is about you.
Exactly. You react as if their action is a direct comment on your worth. They didn't invite me, so I must be boring, or they criticize my idea, I must be stupid.
In that moment, you're basically handing them the heavy end of the seesaw. You go down.
Feeling small, less than.
While they go up.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't even intend it, but that's the dynamic created.
So the big takeaway is reacting to their actions as proof of your failings gives them power.
Right.
And it drains you.
Completely. You internalize their behavior as evidence of your own flaws. So how does actually saying, even just to yourself, let them, change that seesaw dynamic?
Saying let them is it's like giving yourself a solid push off the ground when you're stuck on that lower end.
You lift yourself up.
Yes. You're recognizing that their choices, their opinions, their actions, they're usually more about them, their world, their issues, their perspective.
Not necessarily about you.
Not necessarily. Now, this isn't about saying bad behavior is okay.
Right, not condoning it?
No, but it is about refusing to let their behavior dictate your emotional state.
All right.
Or how you see yourself.
The power shifts.
Yeah.
Because you're not automatically reacting from that place of feeling inadequate or hurt.
Exactly. You're sort of unhooking yourself from their end of the seesaw.
And the let me part then becomes about, what, actively stepping off entirely when things are unhealthy.
Yes, taking responsibility for your side. It's not passive.
It's not just standing back and watching the world go by.
No way! Let me is the action step. So back to that invitation example. Let them not invite you. Okay. But let me means acknowledging, hey, I want connection.
Right, and then doing something about that.
Yes. Let me reach out to other friends. Let me find a new hobby where I can meet people. Let me host my own thing, like the author suggests.
It's owning your needs and taking charge of meeting them instead of just waiting passively.
Waiting for that invitation that might honestly never arrive. You take back the reins.
Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's talk stress, something we all know.
Oh, yes. Daily stress.
The book points out how trying to micromanage those little things, those uncontrollable things,
Like the slow cashier, yeah. Or the person coughing nonstop on the bus.
things that drive you nuts but you can't do anything about. Trying to control them just ramps up our stress, doesn't it? For no real benefit.
Absolutely none. And what's really key to grasp here is a basic truth about people.
Which is,
You just cannot control what other people say or think or do, period.
trying is like trying to hold water.
Exactly. It just slips through your fingers, and it takes your energy, your sense of control with it. You lose power.
You're fighting a battle you literally cannot win.
And that constant effort, that constant fight, it puts your brain on high alert. Dr. Eddy talks about this in the book.
The survival mode thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your brain basically thinks there's a constant threat, which hijacks your focus, clouds your thinking.
Makes it hard to be patient or respond rationally.
Yeah.
All the things you need to feel good.
Right. So the insight is redirect that energy. Stop focusing outward on the chaos you can't control.
And focus inward.
Yes. Laser focus on what you can influence. Your own thoughts, your actions, and crucially, your responses.
Like taking that deep breath in the slow checkout line.
That's a perfect, tangible example. It signals to your brain, okay, we can downshift here. It pulls you out of that fight or flight.
Okay, let's apply this. How does this work with something like our careers? A place where a lot of us feel invested, maybe stuck sometimes.
The book uses the promotion example. Waiting for a promotion you feel you deserve.
Which is incredibly frustrating and common.
So common. And it's easy to get totally fixated on your boss's decision or lack of decision, to feel like you're just being strung along.
That's the let them string you along idea.
Exactly. You can get consumed by how unfair it feels and just feel completely powerless.
Like you're just waiting for someone else to decide your future.
Right. So the core takeaway here is realizing your career path.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's your responsibility.
Not your Moses.
Not entirely. Fixating on their decisions just keeps you stuck and feeling demoralized. Let them make their choices or not make them. That allows you to release that fixation.
Which, going back to the seesaw, keeps you on that lower end, right? Feeling deflated, stuck.
Precisely. So how do we flip that? How do we use let me in our work lives?
Okay, so how?
The shift happens when you really internalize the question the book asks: who is ultimately responsible for your career?
The answer has to be me.
Right.
You.
So let me, in this situation, means shifting your focus. Stop obsessing about the current job or boss.
Yay.
And proactively seek out better opportunities. Your current company isn't the only place to work.
There are other options out there.
Many other options, many leaders who would value what you bring. The book talks about this taking ownership. Don't wait. Actively look.
So instead of just sitting there fuming, let me is about taking actual steps. Like dusting off the resume.
Yes. Expanding your network. Actively searching for that, what does the book say? That kick-ass boss.
And the desk next to a window. I like that playful touch.
Me too. It's about reclaiming your agency, your power in your own professional story.
So you're choosing where to put your energy.
Exactly. Investing time and effort in things that actually move your career forward.
Yep.
Not just getting trapped in resentment or complaining.
Because those 6 months are going to pass anyway.
They are. The real question is, how are you going to spend them? Proactively building your future or passively waiting?
The book also talks about using let them for navigating like everyday social stuff, even politics.
Yeah, those daily interactions. The dog park story is a great little example.
Right. You're there trying to be responsible with your dog.
And then you see someone else who isn't. not picking up after their dog, maybe.
And your first reaction is probably irritation, maybe mentally yelling at them.
Right. You're trying to mentally control their behavior, getting stressed about their irresponsibility.
That's where let them comes in.
That's where it comes in. You simply cannot force them to pick up the poop. You can't.
So trying to mentally force them is just wasted energy.
It is. The insight is, you can't control everyone's behavior, even when it directly affects your space. Let them helps you release that mental struggle.
But there's a line, isn't there? The author says if it's something that really impacts things, like if the trails might close because of it.
Exactly. Then maybe you do need to act. The theory isn't about being a doormat.
It's not passive acceptance of everything.
No, it's about discernment. Knowing when to let go of what you can't control versus when to take appropriate action based on your values or the bigger consequences.
So in the dog park case, maybe a calm conversation is a let me action, if it keeps happening.
Precisely. A respectful approach might be warranted. So let them isn't inaction. It's choosing your battles wisely, focusing your energy where it can actually make a difference.
Okay. And what about the big stuff? Like world politics. That can feel so overwhelming and anxiety-inducing.
Hugely overwhelming. The sheer scale, the complexity, it's easy to get completely sucked in.
Endless news cycles, heated arguments online.
Feeling this pressure to have a strong opinion on everything and somehow, I don't know, influence things.
Right, which feels impossible.
And it largely is on that grand scale. So
yeah.
Let them here is about recognizing you cannot control what politicians say or do. You can't force everyone to agree with you.
As the book says, let them think whatever the heck they want to think.
Exactly. It sounds blunt, but it's liberating. The core idea is you can't control global events or everyone's take on them. Let them helps you release that huge mental burden.
It frees you up from constantly trying to change minds or feeling personally responsible for, well, everything.
Yes. And it lets you channel that energy more effectively towards what you can control.
Like what?
Your own values, your actions in your local community, your own mental health and well-being. Stay informed, stay engaged if you want, but don't let it consume you.
Focus your energy where it counts locally, personally.
That's the key insight. That's where your power actually lies.
Okay, let's talk about a really big one. Fear of judgment.
Oh, yeah. Universal.
The author shares her own struggle with this, right? Using social media for his speaking career.
Mm-hmm. It's so relatable, that hesitation to put yourself out there because what will people think? Will they tear it apart?
She talks about agonizing over the perfect post, right? Refreshing constantly for likes.
Obsessively checking comments. And then deleting things out of fear. I think so many people feel that, especially online.
That constant awareness of potential criticism.
It can be paralyzing. It can stop you dead in your tracks from pursuing what you want to do. That's the danger.
And it shows how much energy we waste just managing perceptions, often before we even do the thing.
Totally. And the let them theory offers this incredibly freeing alternative.
Which is
grant people the freedom to have negative thoughts about you.
Just let them think badly of you.
Well, accept the reality that you can't control their inner thoughts anyway. Trying is exhausting and, frankly, futile.
So let them have their opinions, even the negative ones.
Yes. The insight is you cannot control what others think, so stop trying.
So instead of shrinking back, censoring yourself.
The let me becomes about anchoring yourself in your own goals, your own values.
Pushing past the fear.
Recognizing your time and energy are way too valuable to be held hostage by what someone might think.
Right. Prioritize your own voice, your own goals.
Exactly. As the book says, you have important things to do with your one wild and precious life.
Don't let fear of judgment stop you. Let me focus on what matters to me.
That's the empowering shift.
This leads nicely into balancing our own needs with others' expectations.
The packed weekend example.
Ah, yes, the people-pleasing trap. So easy to fall into.
Trying to make everyone happy, saying yes to everything, especially with people we love. We want to be a good friend, a good daughter, whatever it is.
But you end up feeling totally drained, maybe even resentful.
Completely depleted. So the let them part here is recognizing you literally cannot be in two places at once.
Someone might always be a little disappointed.
They might. And trying to avoid that disappointment at all costs is a recipe for your own burnout. So let them be disappointed sometimes. It's okay.
It's understanding that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary.
Absolutely essential for your own well-being. And the let me part follows directly from that.
How so?
Let me make conscious choices based on what feels right for me, what aligns with my values, my energy levels right now.
Not just based on guilt or obligation.
Right. The book has that powerful line, don't ever let it be you that's disappointed. Prioritize yourself sometimes.
So the takeaway is, prioritize your own well-being in your choices. Let me make decisions I can feel good about, even if they don't please everyone.
Exactly. It's about making choices you can stand behind, feeling proud of how you use your time and energy.
Okay, family dynamics. These can be complex.
Understatement of the year, deeply ingrained expectations, strong opinions.
The book talks about how let them can be a real game changer here, especially with blended families.
Yeah, family relationships have so much history, right? And often family members feel entitled to weigh in. They think they know best.
Which often means what feels best for them.
Pretty much. And families operate like a system. So when you make a big change, it sends ripples through the whole thing.
Good and bad ripples.
Both. So the core idea is family dynamics are complex. Everyone's got their own viewpoint shaped by history.
And bringing in step-parents, step-kids, that really shakes up the system. Creates potential for conflict, hurt feelings.
Absolutely. The book specifically mentions in step parenting, it's crucial to let them grieve.
Let the stepchildren grieve.
Yeah. They're often dealing with the loss of their old family structure. It's natural for them to see a new step-parent as, well, a disruption. Maybe even a threat initially.
Regardless of the step-parent's intentions.
Exactly. So trying to force immediate acceptance or happiness usually backfires. You have to allow them space for their feelings. Let them feel what they feel.
Don't try to manage their grief for them.
Right. The insight is, in blended families, allow that space for adjustment. Don't force it.
This sounds like where Lisa Bilyeu's idea of frame of reference comes in handy.
It's such a useful concept here.
Can you explain that? How does understanding someone's frame of reference help with tricky family stuff?
So Lisa Bilyeu defines it as basically seeing the world through someone else's unique lens, based on their whole life, their history, their values.
Like their personal context.
Exactly. The author uses the example of her mom being hesitant about her marrying someone from the East Coast.
Right. The mom wanted her to stay close in the Midwest.
So from the mom's frame of reference, her concern wasn't necessarily judging the partner. It was rooted in her fear of losing that physical closeness, disrupting the family unit she knew.
Understanding that why behind the opinion.
Yes. So the takeaway is, everyone sees things through their own unique filter. Trying to understand their frame of reference builds empathy.
So even if their opinion still hurts, making that effort to grasp why they might feel that way, what fears are driving it, it can change the whole dynamic.
It really can. It shifts it away from being a power struggle, you're wrong, no you're wrong, towards something closer to understanding.
More connection, less conflict.
Exactly. It doesn't mean the opinions vanish, but the personal sting lessens. As the book says, there was no longer a power struggle, there was understanding.
But it takes maturity, right, to step outside your own reaction.
It does. It requires stepping back from your immediate emotional response and genuinely trying to see their perspective. It can really reduce conflict.
Okay, what about dealing with emotional immaturity in others? That can really throw you off balance.
Oh, definitely. Things like the silent treatment, guilt trips.
Yeah, passive-aggressive stuff.
The book points out these are often signs that someone is struggling to handle their own emotions in a healthy way.
So it's more about them than about you.
Often, yes. And when someone acts like that, our first instinct might be to fix it. What did I do wrong?
Right, try to appease them.
But let them reminds us, you are not responsible for managing someone else's emotional state.
Their inability to cope maturely is their issue.
It's their journey, their stuff to work through, not yours to fix or navigate for them. So the core idea, don't take responsibility for their emotions. Let them own their feelings.
So instead of getting dragged into their drama,
the let me becomes about setting healthy boundaries, protecting your own emotional well-being.
Not letting their negativity spill all over you.
Exactly. Recognizing these behaviors for what they often are, kind of like childlike reactions in adult bodies, helps you detach emotionally.
Not take it so personally.
Right. Understand their reaction is probably more about their own emotional capacity at that moment, not an accurate reflection of you or the situation.
And the book also flips it, right? Asks us to reflect on ourselves.
Yeah, that's important too. What if we sometimes act emotionally immature? It highlights the need to notice our own emotions, let them rise and fall, without immediately lashing out or reacting in ways we might regret.
So recognize it in others, set boundaries, and check yourself too.
That's a good summary. Be mindful of your own responses as well.
Making really tough decisions, ones that you know might hurt someone. That's hard.
Incredibly hard. The book uses the example of a groom calling off a wedding.
Oof, high stakes.
Definitely. And in situations like that, the temptation to avoid causing pain can be overwhelming.
Even if it means compromising your own happiness or future.
Yes, but let them strongly reinforces. If you let other people's potential emotional reactions dictate your major life choices.
You end up constantly trying to manage their feelings.
Exactly, at the expense of your own truth, your own peace, your own authenticity. It's an endless cycle.
So the takeaway is, sometimes causing pain is unavoidable if you're being true to yourself. You shouldn't sacrifice your well-being just to prevent someone else's discomfort.
Right. Let them experience their emotions. Their pain is valid. It deserves empathy.
But it doesn't mean you have to make a decision that's wrong for you just to avoid it.
Exactly. You're not responsible for shielding them from all disappointment, especially on fundamental life choices. Empathy, yes. Changing your core truth to avoid their reaction, no.
Sometimes the honest, kindest thing long-term is the hard thing short-term.
It often is. So let them feel what they feel, but let me make the choice that aligns with my own integrity. Prioritize your truth, even when it's tough.
Let's talk comparison. It's everywhere, isn't it? Especially with social media.
Oh, it's a constant battle, the comparison trap.
And the book says it really erodes our confidence or motivation.
It does. It's almost automatic to compare. But the book makes a really useful distinction between what it calls torturous comparison, like obsessing over things others have that you can't change about yourself.
Right, like genetics or background or something.
Yeah. Versus using comparison as maybe a source of learning or inspiration.
Okay. So let them have their successes, their advantages.
Yeah.
Don't get sucked into envy.
Exactly. Getting caught up in jealousy or feeling inadequate because of what someone else has, the book calls it an insult to your own intelligence and your unique path.
So torturous comparison is just a waste of energy. Let them have their journey, focus on yours.
That's the core idea. And instead of letting their wins make you feel smaller,
You shift to a let-me perspective.
yes, let me focus on appreciating and cultivating my own strengths, my own opportunities, playing the hand I was dealt as best I can.
Seeing their success not as a threat, but maybe as proof.
Proof of what's possible. Let them lead the way, as the book suggests. See it as inspiration. What paths did they take? What strategies worked?
Learn from them, maybe?
Learn from them, identify things you could try, but without letting it trigger that self-doubt that just paralyzes you. Use it constructively.
Okay. Adult friendships. They can be tricky too.
They really can. The book talks about the great scattering. I love that term.
Me too. What does it mean?
It describes how life just naturally pulls people in different directions as adults. Career moves, starting families, different priorities, different schedules.
Friendships change from how they were in, say, college.
Massively. The book highlights 3 pillars of friendship: proximity, timing, and energy.
Okay. Proximity, timing, energy.
And in adulthood, all 3 often shift. People move away, proximity changes, life stages diverge, schedules clash, timing changes. Energy levels and priorities change with new responsibilities.
So when a friendship feels like it's fading, or maybe one-sided,
Let them helps you accept that this might be a natural evolution, not necessarily anyone's fault.
not a personal rejection.
Not always. It helps you avoid unnecessary guilt or resentment. The takeaway is adult friendships naturally change. Let them evolve.
It's recognizing it might just be shifting life circumstances, mostly outside your control.
Right. And the let me part is about understanding these shifts and adjusting your expectations. And maybe your efforts.
So instead of clinging to how it used to be, or taking it personally,
Let them allows people space. Space to show you who they are now, in this phase, and where you realistically fit in their current life.
be honest about whether the proximity, timing, or energy has really changed.
And adjust accordingly. Adapt your expectations and your outreach to match the current reality. Don't keep pouring energy into something that just isn't there anymore in the same way.
But it's not all about letting friendships fade. The book also talks about the proactive side, the let me of making new friends.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're in a new situation, move to a new town, major life change.
It can feel lonely.
Very. The author shares her own experience of feeling isolated after moving and realizing friendships don't just magically appear.
You have to make an effort.
You do. Let me here means actively going first, taking that initiative.
Introducing yourself. Suggesting coffee. Even if it feels awkward.
Even if it feels awkward, vulnerable maybe. But it's about putting yourself out there to build connections. That's the core idea. Building new friendships takes initiative. Let me be the one to reach out.
Overcoming that inertia, that waiting for others, and understanding it takes time.
Yes, the book wisely suggests giving it time, like give it a year. Building real community, real connection, it doesn't happen overnight.
So cultivate that habit of going first. Be open. Make the effort.
Exactly. Put that positive energy out there. Often it finds its way back to you. It enriches your life. Be proactive and be patient.
Okay. Wanting to help people we love change. That's a big one. We see someone struggling or making choices we think are bad for them.
And our instinct is often to jump in, to try and fix it, or at least nudge them strongly.
Nag them, maybe?
Let's be honest, yeah. Nagging, pressuring.
Yeah.
But the book strongly advises against this. Why?
Why does pressuring someone usually backfire?
Dr. Sherritt's research is key here. People have this fundamental need for autonomy, for control over their own choices.
So when they feel pressured,
They resist. It triggers this psychological pushback called reactance. Even if you have the best intentions, your pressure creates a power struggle.
it makes them dig their heels in even more.
Paradoxically, yes, it makes them less likely to make the change you want for them. So the takeaway, pressuring usually backfires. Let them make their own choices.
So the let them here is stepping back from direct pressure, releasing that need to control their decisions.
Yes, letting them keep their sense of agency. Let them be on their own timeline, as the book puts it.
Even if their timeline feels wrong to us.
Even then, you can't force someone to be ready before they are. Sometimes the most supportive thing is accepting them where they are now. Respect their timeline.
That doesn't mean doing nothing, right? The book talks about influence, the let me of influence.
Right. Influence, not control. It's different, more subtle, often more effective.
So how do we influence change positively,
Yeah.
without the nagging?
Several strategies. One big one is modeling the behavior yourself. Consistently.
Lead by example.
Exactly. You can also create positive associations with the change. Think rewards, encouragement, and compassionate communication is huge.
Like the ABC loop.
Yes. Apologize for maybe pressuring before. Ask open-ended questions. Back off, observe, give space, and celebrate any small steps. It's about dialogue, not demands.
So influence over pressure. Lead by example. Communicate compassionately.
That's the core idea. And the book also mentions the 5 whys technique.
For understanding our own reasons for wanting them to change.
Precisely. Why do I want this for them so badly? Often, digging into that reveals our own anxiety, our own feelings about the situation.
And understanding our own motives helps us approach it better.
With more empathy, less judgment, which ironically makes our influence more likely to be effective. Understand your own why.
There's a really important difference, though, between wanting someone to, say, exercise more and supporting someone facing serious struggles, like mental health issues or addiction.
Absolutely crucial distinction. These are much more complex and sensitive situations.
How does let them apply here? It feels harder.
It is harder. The instinct to rescue someone we love from deep struggle is incredibly strong. It comes from compassion. But the book points out a difficult truth. Not everyone is ready or able to change, no matter how much we want it for them.
And constantly rescuing them can actually hurt.
It can inadvertently hinder them, prevent them from finding their own strength, learning from consequences, taking ownership of their recovery.
Wow. So let them struggle here doesn't mean abandon them.
Not at all. It means allowing them to face some natural consequences, which can sometimes be the very thing that sparks their own desire for change. It's not withdrawing support, it's stopping the constant rescuing from consequences.
So the takeaway is, rescuing can sometimes hinder long-term recovery. Allowing consequences can be necessary.
It's a tough balance. And instead of always swooping in,
The let me becomes about
setting firm, healthy boundaries. Like maybe limits on financial help if it's enabling the problem, but also offering genuine, unwavering support.
showing up, being there, creating a stable environment.
Yes, offering practical help when it's truly needed without being asked constantly, without enabling. Shifting from rescuer to supporter.
Believing in their capacity to change, but letting them walk their own path.
While setting boundaries to protect yourself and avoid enabling. It's a shift from intervention to supportive presence.
Okay, let's talk love. Choosing the love we deserve. How does let them guide us in dating and relationships?
Eating can be confusing. Let them is a powerful reminder here. Pay attention to people's actions consistently.
Not just words or wishful thinking.
Exactly. Don't make excuses for inconsistent behavior. Let them not text you back quickly. What does that really tell you?
It tells you their level of interest, their priorities.
Right. Be honest with yourself. Recognize when someone just isn't that invested. Pay attention to actions. Let them show you who they really are.
And the let me part is having the self-respect too.
To stop chasing. Stop chasing partners who are unavailable, distant, or just clearly not prioritizing you. Cultivate that self-awareness.
The book has that great line, if they like you, you'll know. If they don't, you'll be confused.
So direct and so true. It's about allowing their behavior to be the message and having the strength to walk away if that message is consistently, I'm not that interested, or I can't meet your needs.
Value yourself enough to choose relationships where you are valued.
Yes. And again, the ABC loop can be useful here too. For understanding compatibility, communicating needs effectively, let me choose relationships where I feel seen and respected.
What about heartbreak? It happens. How can let them and let me help us through that pain?
Heartbreak is tough. Let them in this context means accepting the reality. The relationship is over, allowing the other person to move on, even though it hurts you.
Accepting their choice, their path forward without you.
Yes. And then crucially, the let me turns inward. Let me give myself permission and space to grieve.
It's okay to be sad, to feel the loss.
Absolutely. Let me cry in my bed for days, as the book acknowledges. Feel the feelings, but also let me establish boundaries for healing.
Like no contact for a while.
Yes, that's often really important. Let me create the space I need to heal. So allow grief, but also set boundaries. Let me heal.
And the book offers practical steps for moving forward too, right?
It does. Prioritizing self-care, reaching out to your support network, intentionally filling your time with things that matter to you.
Setting new goals maybe, redirecting your focus.
Exactly. It's about actively participating in your own healing, consciously creating your next chapter, not just waiting passively for the pain to fade. Take steps. Move forward.
So wrapping up, the book really emphasizes that the most important relationship is the one with ourselves.
It all comes back to that foundation, doesn't it?
How does let them circle back to our relationship with ourselves?
The core phrase sums it up. Let them be them so you can finally let me be me.
Ah.
Your ability to build amazing relationships with others, it starts with how you treat yourself.
Self-compassion. Respecting your own boundaries.
Pursuing your dreams without needing constant outside approval, that's the foundation. Healthy relationships start with a healthy relationship with yourself.
It's such a powerful reminder. We don't actually need anyone else's permission to be happy or to go after what we want.
Not at all. The let them theory isn't just about navigating others. It's profoundly about how you treat yourself.
With that same love, respect, kindness you offer others.
Exactly. You don't need permission. Let me be who I truly am.
So as we finish this deep dive on the let them theory, the main message seems really clear. You have way more control than you might think.
But it's not about controlling others.
No. The power lies in managing your own responses, your choices, your actions. That's where your control is.
And it's important to say, this isn't always easy, is it? Applying let them, embracing let me.
No, letting go can feel really hard sometimes. Counterintuitive even.
But the payoff, as the book really drives home, is huge. It's liberation, real personal empowerment.
Okay, so maybe a final thought for listeners to take away.
How about this? Think about the sky. You can't control the weather.
Right?
Right?
Nope. Sunshine, clouds, rain, wind. It just happens.
Exactly. You have zero control over that weather of life rolling in. But
You have total control over how you navigate into that sky.
completely. Your reactions, your choices, the perspective you choose to adopt, that defines your experience, not the weather itself.
That's a great image.
Ultimately, this whole deep dive, it's been about encouraging you, the listener, to see your own potential, to believe you can build joyful, meaningful relationships.
And it starts by taking back your power.
Through self-love, through understanding you are the author of your own story, always have been.